Hi, welcome back to the Affinitive Design podcast. I'm David Clayton, your host, and it is now July. And July is a special month for a lot of people in the United States because this is a month where a lot of people decide to take vacations. Vacations are a wonderful way to get away from home and experience the world and just enjoy the beauties of nature. For one, I'm very excited about our family vacation coming up soon. We're going to be going to some really great national parks and enjoying some beautiful scenery. It's just a wonderful way of enjoying life. So, for many people, they like taking vacations at a predictable place. They maybe go back to the same place every year. And one of the ways that they do that is to build vacation homes. I know there's a lot of companies out there. They're going to try to sell you on the idea of timeshares. Timeshares are stupid. By the way, you probably already knew that, but timeshares are just plain stupid. It's basically a way for the timeshare company that sells you those timeshares to basically steal a ton of your money for not a whole lot of benefit. Versus the idea of owning a vacation home. The great thing is there's services like VRBO, Airbnb, HomeAway, services that will allow you to rent out your vacation home for those times when you're not using it, and you can make a good bit of profit if you do it right. Now, one of the keys with vacation homes is you've got to find a good site. A good site is vital, because if you don't have a good site, then it's not going to rent as well. It's also not going to be as pleasant for you. So that's one of the first keys, is finding a good site. And one of the ways you can find a good site, you need to be looking for things like, is it a buildable lot? And by buildable lot, essentially what you want is you want a reasonable grade. You want something that drains well, something that has a decent source of water, especially if you're out in the wilderness where you may need to dig a well or to provide for a septic tank system. You're going to need to have resources. What kind of road can you build to it? How are you going to bring in the utilities? These are things that you need to ask when you're looking at the site. Then, of course, you also need to think, okay, well, what kind of view am I going to have from this slot? Am I going to enjoy being in this place a lot of time? Because if you're building a vacation home, you're making a commitment to living a portion of your life in this location. Even though it's only a couple weeks a year, maybe, it's still a really big decision. You don't want to be spending, $500,000 to $1 million on a vacation home just to find out that, hey, guess what? I hate being here. And if you hate being there, there's a good chance that other people aren't going to want to be there either. So it's not going to help you with the land value. So one of the things that you need to do also is you need to plan out your views. Now, one of the big mistakes that a lot of people make when building any kind of home, let alone a vacation home, is they just simply go out onto the internet and they look at stock plans. Now, I will tell you, stock plans are one of the worst things you can do. Here's the reason why. Stock plans are not customized to your site, especially if you're going to have a view. Why on earth would you want to buy a stock plan and then maybe you'll have a good view out of your house, but maybe not? It's a lot more sensible. If you're going to be spending all this money, spend a couple extra $1,000 on an architect. Yes, have an architect design it for you so that you can actually have a customized home that is actually going to enjoy the views. That, to me, is critical. Why would you buy all this land and spend all this money constructing a home just to find out that the stupid builder put a garage right in the way of the best view there's no reason for that, especially since a good architect is going to have the ability to bring in the Google Earth topography and satellite imagery and actually place the 3D model of the home design onto the site so that you can physically verify within the virtual model where your views are. You can actually make sure that what you're going to see is what you want to see. So another thing to consider is utilities. Now, I know I talked about that with site selection, but it also has an important factor when it comes to your home. So, if you're out in the wilderness, utilities get expensive because you're having to run the power lines there. You're having to run the gas lines there, the water lines, the sewer lines. Or you're going to have to build your own infrastructure in the case of digging a well or putting in a septic tank. So it makes a lot of sense to consider, well, what are some of the other options? Do I have to use a traditional method, or could I maybe use some more environmentally friendly options? For example, for electricity, why bring a utility line in if we could actually design it in so that you have a very energy efficient home with an array of photovoltaic solar panels on your roof, and also with a battery backup system, so that now not only are you 100% environmentally friendly, but you're also prepared against the apocalypse. Yeah, I know there's two different camps there. So a lot of people, they're really concerned about the environmental impact of their usage of electricity. And then there's also a lot of people who are preppers, and they just want to make sure that they're prepared against the apocalypse. Well, regardless of which extreme you're on, it doesn't matter. Either way, designing it in with solar panels and battery arrays, that's a great way of ensuring that. Rainwater collection cisterns, that's another way that you can add to your water supply, and it's relatively cheap to do. It's a great option. Another thing that you can do is to design with a building material that is capable of storing the thermal energy. So in my case, I really like using EVG 3D wall panels for designing buildings. The reason why is because this system, it actually has an insulation layer in the middle and concrete on the interior and exterior. The advantage of this is the concrete actually is a really great thermal mass storage device. What it does is concrete basically just stores thermal energy and then re-radiates it out when that thermal the temperature changes. So essentially what you're doing is, by having the foam in the middle of the insulation panel, you're blocking the radiation of that thermal energy across the insulation. But because you've got that the layer of concrete on the inside, all that air conditioning that you do inside the home to be comfortable stores itself into the concrete. So the concrete's always your 72 degrees or whatever temperature you like setting it at. And that way you're always comfortable, and plus you're spending less on the air conditioning because you don't have to condition it as often because the concrete is radiating that temperature back. We're going to talk more about EVG 3D wall panels in another episode because we have a great relationship with a manufacturer here locally in Utah that produces a 3D wall panel, and it's a really fantastic product. We also design with SIPs. That's another great structural material that we can use. That consists of 2 OSB panels glued to a foam layer in the middle. That's another great way of creating a great thermal barrier between you and the exterior so that you can be more energy efficient. So when you're building a vacation home, this is critically important because, like I said, energy's more expensive the further you get away from the big cities because it takes more effort to get it out to the vacation home. So the more we can reduce your energy consumption and increase your use of on-site renewables, the better you're going to have a time of maintaining your vacation home. So there's so many other ideas and concepts that we can discuss about on another occasion, but I just wanted to bring up some of these ideas because for a lot of you out there, these are maybe things that maybe you didn't think about. Maybe it's something that it's going to be helpful for you to have in your tool bag as you're planning out your vacation home. I think number one, most valuable thing that you can do is bring on your architect as early in the process as you can. A good architect is going to be able to advise you on things as to site selection, what kinds of aspects are going to affect it. Like, for example, are you going to be in a homeowners association? What kind of community are you in? What's the authority having jurisdiction, or basically the city or the county that you're going to be working on getting approvals from? If you're building in Park City, that means your approval process is going to be very laborious, very time intensive, very expensive, versus a place like Garden City at Bear Lake. It's going to be a lot easier to get through that city because they're a much more easygoing city. So these things also have factors on the cost of your home. What kind of contractors are available? How available are these contractors? So, for example, in Garden City, one of the things that makes it a little bit more expensive to build is that most of the contractors are coming from Logan. Well, this means that you've got at least a half an hour to 45-minute drive each way for your contractors. And all the materials have to be shipped in. So it's not exactly an easy thing. You can't just, if they didn't bring enough nails, they can't just go over to the Lowe's or the Home Depot and pick up another box of nails. They're going to have to drive an hour one way, go get the nails, and then drive back. So if they forgot to bring enough nails, then that's a big problem. So the logistics of construction, that's another factor to consider in your vacation home. And so there's so many factors. So this is why bring your architect on early. This way they can advise you. They can help you figure out what is the best course of action. Is your site actually something that you can physically accomplish? I mean, financially, can you accomplish it? Construction-wise, can you accomplish it? I know for us, my firm, DEIV Architecture, we offer something called a pre-design options study. The pre-design options study is a feasibility study that we basically do a lot of the research to figure out what kind of zoning ordinances there are, what kind of homeowners associations there are, what kind of site utilities are available, and what kind of views and climate and other factors. And then we package this together into a report that then you can use as you're planning out your home. Ideally, we also like to continue on with the process and help you design and build your home throughout the process. But ultimately, the aim of the pre-design option study is to give you as many tools in your tool chest so that you can do the best job that you can. So finally, what I want to say is just have fun. Remember, life is short and you don't have that much time. You're maybe here on Earth for about 80 years, so don't wait so long that you end up not being able to enjoy it. If you wait all the way until you're 80 before you're building your vacation home, that's a lot of missed opportunities to have your family all together in a beautiful location, experiencing life, experiencing each other, and building those relationships that just make life so much more worth living. And ultimately, I think that's what vacation homes are all about. It's about creating a space that you and your family can live and grow up together and just be happy. And so, with that, I bid you farewell for another week, and I look forward to coming back and talking about more things next week. Again, this is David Clayton. I'm the architect here at DEIV Architecture, and this has been the Affinitive Design Podcast. And you have a wonderful day and have a great vacation this month. Bye-bye.